Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am building one of my most ambitious projects yet, turning the new Glittering Dunes floating island into a cyberpunk, TRON and Las Vegas style city. This was a lot of fun to do, not to mention a lot of work, but I'm very happy with the result and I can't wait to show you how it was made. In this video, I will also be covering the Touch of Magic tutorials for making both street rugs, but for easy access, you can use the timestamps in the video to skip right over to the speed build if you wish. Now sit back and relax, and we can get right into the video. For the first street rug, I am using this earthy texture and making it dark gray. Keep that in mind as we will be changing the texture to a grid to get the straight lines. I am leaving a 1 square margin on each long side and using a thick yellow line motif to make the ends of the street. Use the grids to keep yourself in between the lines and to make it straight. I make the lines about 1 square thick, and then I use the same size rectangles to use the scissor tool in order to cut it into the background texture. Now what I'm going to be doing here is adding a little bit more texture to make the road feel more realistic, but feel free to skip this step entirely if you are fine with the existing texture underneath it already. I am just a little bit extra, but if you want the extra texture like I do, all I am doing is putting down some grayish circles and I use this void-like motif over top. I line it with the circles and then I use the scissor tool to make the color blend into the background. I do this a couple of times and I finally add a couple more lighter colored gray circles at the end for that extra oomph. I'm finally adding some street lines and making it into a light shade of gray, but you can use white. For the second rug, I'm going to do exactly what I did before in terms of the yellow lines and texture, so just repeat that step. When it is time for the lines, I add 2 on either end and then I make thicker ones across the rug to emulate a sort of crosswalk. If you are doing that extra texture step, I would actually recommend doing that before the lines, since you can see right here I am actually moving those motifs down the layers to go underneath the lines, and then you'll be done with the rugs. Starting with the actual build now, I find the center of the island and I am making 2 rows of the street going all the way down. In the middle, I am leaving a gap between the rugs and adding a couple water pieces down in a straight line. I use a lot of items from both the Night Show Star Path and the Frost and Fairies Star Path, so you will be seeing that a lot. I take these fountains from the Frost and Fairies Star Path because they are glowy, and I put it right at the center. I take these long fountains from the night show star path, and the tricky part now is to play Tetris with all of these water pieces. It is fine if you leave a gap in between where the items are because we will fill it in with a water rug later. Between where the crosswalks are, I am leaving a path gap so that there is a walkway. I add in a water rug, which by the way, it is really easy to make, and I have several videos on how to make them, so I will probably link that up here in the video or in the description. For the 3 segments that we just made, I will surround it with this wrought iron fencing, although the middle portion will change to a more flashy one later in the video. Lastly, I add some Vitalis mine lamps to give it an extra glow. Now for the sidewalk, I use this one because you can easily craft it from Eternity Isle, and I was going for a more darker sidewalk. I give each side of the street about a 4 space wide margin, and the street rugs are going to form an I shape throughout the whole island. I am starting the main attraction after the fountains, and I use these Hollywood Tower items a lot. I craft some V8 gas stations with some time bending pieces, and I use a lot of those retro items like the billboards, and even some billboards from the rock show Star Path. And of course you can't forget the big Ferris wheel. The center structure that I made will be replaced by the Inside Out Joy and Sadness house, but I haven't finished the realm at this stage, so I'm kind of just using whatever just to fill it in. I used some palm trees from the Glittering Dunes and just some normal ones from Dazzle Beach. By the streets on the 4 corners, I used more of those dune palm trees but with the planter attached to it, and that came from the Oasis Retreat Star Path, or you can get it from the Aladdin Realm if I remember correctly. I put 2 more Hollywood towers on either end of the streets to make it feel more city-like, and then add some more movie ticket stands for that light effect. I want it to feel very city-like, so I also add in a bunch of these motel and drive-in signs for that neon sign city effect. Which is funny because there is not a single drive-in in this build. some stands in the sidewalk and then these beautiful arches from the Frost and Fairy Star Path. Some other details I include are these clocks from the Disney parks, and you will just need a lot of these lights from the Rock Show Star Path. I use them pretty much everywhere, and this is just to make the build feel more cyberpunk and futuristic with these bright purple and blue lights. I put down these streetlights just for the placement, but I'm going to very soon replace them with some wrought iron ones that you can craft, but those will be blue and purple and you will see them later in the video. Now for the more tedious part, you will have to craft a lot of these electric powers from Eternity Isle, and I lined these all along the Touch of Magic street roads. I was inspired to use this by Dreamlight Valley Decor on Instagram and YouTube, so definitely go check her out. I make sure to keep a gap for the crosswalks just so that you can easily walk through them. Even though you can walk through them anyway, it's just for aesthetic purposes. So I finally changed out the middle of the house and it's coming along together so nicely. So I add some wrought iron blue lights to give it a cool effect behind these V8 gas stations, and then some of these pane thingies, glass pane things, I think they're from Wall-E or Wreck-It Ralph. I'm gonna go with Wall-E. I'm gonna put these here just to mask the mess that is in the back, and I use it with some more Vitalis mine lamps for a little bit of a kick. I duplicate the Ferris wheel on either side of the front of the build, and now I am replacing those white lights with blue and purple wrought iron lights. This really makes it start to feel a little more cyberpunk. Now in the back, this part is optional, but I put a ship back there. It might seem so random, but it's actually a little Easter egg to bring some Vegas back in here. And if you know, you know, there is a pirate ship in Vegas that used to have a whole show. I don't know if they still do, but it's kind of just there for that vibe. In the front of the ship, I use more Frost and Fairies arches and Rock Show Star Path fountains, and I line the entire back with them. You don't see me do this step, but I actually alternate the color of those fountains between pink and blue to keep up the build's color scheme. I'm going to be making a couple little bus stops around the city, and so to do that I will use these Wall-E signs, and I make more of those bus stops that are usually made out of glass and they have ads on them. I know some people will know what I'm talking about. This is kind of what I've seen in different cities, and so I will pair it with the retro diner seats as benches and use more of those lights. And then of course, just to finish it off, I will be adding a bus from the Dapper Delights Star Path. Bringing more life to the city, we will add a couple of cars. If you have different kinds, all the better. Now for the Vegas effect, if you went, you would notice a lot of different themes of hotels and all based on different cultures. So I add in the Reflection of China house skin and the Enchanted Tiki Room, which will both serve as themed restaurants. I will also add in the right side of the build Oswald's house and the confectionery and make a little outdoor diner, kind of like eatery area. For his house, we will add a red carpet, of course, and I'm going to be adding a path. I use the new diagonal pathing features, and I have it lead from the street to Oswald's house and then just fill in the gaps with some extra sidewalk. I will be changing that pathing to match the outside sidewalk as well. On the other side, and my favorite part, we will be making a nightlife scene. I didn't record this part, so forgive my mini time lapse here. I add in a little stage, billboard, and some instruments for the live band, and then I make a bar with some stools. I also add these dance floor tiles for that clubbing look. This is very much the Vegas part of the build, and don't forget the DJ, of course. On the other end, I added Woody's carousel house because thank goodness I never knew what to do with it until now. Add in some pools, and then I add some games and casino-like things because it ain't Vegas without the casinos. At the end, I just cover the floor with these rugs that you can buy from Scrooge and fill in the gaps with more of that pathing. And don't forget the sidewalk. I like using these small lamps as pathways, and I also use them for Oswald's house to give that red carpet movie premiere look. These signs are new with the retro star path and are actually a touch of magic. You can put whatever you want on them or just copy what I am doing. I made it really simple because I didn't want to waste too much time with it. I'm just going to add some smaller details now to make it feel more alive, and I'm also finishing up the right side with some tables and chairs. I mixed a couple futuristic tables with some of the retro ones to just establish that TRON and cyberpunk style because I wanted it to be an even blend of the two different themes. I thought it was cool to use the R2-D2 hologram here, but it's totally not required if you don't have it. Of course, you know the drill, add some more lights here and there, and I actually thought it would be cool to line the diagonal path with some of these water fountains, and you can buy them from Scrooge as well. And I also forget to mention that later I will be lining this diagonal pathing with some more of those electric powers, but again, optional as well because I know it's quite a grind to get them. A city always needs sufficient trash cans, so I put them everywhere I can. It is at this point where I'm just adding more glowing elements as much as possible. I am a very extra individual, and so a lot of these things are not needed, but I just couldn't help myself. For the first restaurant, it's more of a Chinese and Japanese fusion, and I use these Monsters Inc. sushi octagais, and I like to layer the light effect with the Mulan kitchen counters and dividers with the Vitalis mine lamps. I also add turning red lamps and even some fire machines from the rock show Star Path because hibachi, I guess. For the tiki restaurant, we add some torches and these well-matched tables and chairs, and even some water instruments from the Neverland Star Path. Very simple decor here, nothing too extra. I, of course, forgot to add in the sidewalk before, so I'm just adding in the sidewalk now because you don't want everything back there to just be in the sand. I add in more casino games because it's really everywhere in Vegas, if I'm being completely honest, and then adding some more streetlights where I think it's dark. Now for the last step, and one that I don't often show or because I forget to show it, you should absolutely decorate with food that you can make. I am decorating the bar with an assortment of drinks, and for the diner I am using a lot of, I guess, American-esque diner food, so a lot of burgers, pizza, french fries, and even popcorn. Just something that you would see in a diner, basically. And that was it. I will let you guys enjoy this walkthrough, and I will see you all at the end of the video. And that was the end of the speed build and walkthrough. I hope you guys all enjoyed this chaotic and yet thrilling speed build. Speaking of which, I really do want to open this up to the public in the near future, so let me know down below if that is something you guys would be interested in. If you guys enjoyed the video, feel free to like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye!